Baseball family, this week we're going to talk about next year's Hall of Fame ballot feather ruffling, the Cards and Cubs scuffling, and trade deadline shuffling right now. 9 Plus Us presents the Baseball Together podcast with your hosts, Blackjack Brad and Kansas City Little Big Briggy Blue Eyes. And now, Baseball Together. Welcome back, baseball family, to this week's episode of the Baseball Together podcast. I got the Brad Master here with me, and it's very exciting because I'm here, which is also very exciting. Brad,
that's the exciting
how are
part,
you,
Brig.
Brad?
I'm doing well. How are you besides being exhausted?
I'm exhausted. But you know what's more importanter than being exhausted?
What's that?
Being engaged. And
yeah.
That is what we around here like to call bangarang. No, it's great.
Bangarang Brig.
Bangarang
Brig.
I've been having a lot of fun. I've been on a trip. I've been doing things that move life forward in all the most positive ways. And, you know, it's been glorious, honestly. Very hard, very tiring.
And very excited.
Very excited. Yes. King in the castle. I have a chair. Okay, the end. All right. Can't believe I did that on the show. Thank you very much for joining us this week. Enough about me. Let's get to baseball. We have a lot going on in current events, and we are going to get to all of the trade deadline things that you want to talk about and you want to hear about at the end of the show. So stay tuned for that. First, though, as I said earlier, we have got to talk about next year's Hall of Fame ballot. And there are a number of names returning to the Hall of Fame eligibility list. And then there's a bunch of names that are their first time on the ballot.
That's
the first opportunity.
List.
It's a long list.
First timers.
Yeah.
This year.
There are 14 who have been on the ballot before. And then the list goes from 15 to 37. For you actuaries out there, that's got to be 22. So
23 because 15 is counted on there.
Yeah, you're right. Okay, 23. Don't call that comptroller on me. Here we go.
Well, that's why we go to the That's why we refer to the actuaries on this break.
Exactly, because I don't do the maths. All right, I just don't do them. Let's go over the candidates, Hall of Fame candidates that are going to be eligible again, returning. We start with Todd Helton. And the reason we start with Todd Helton, it's his 6th year on the ballot, but he has received 72.2% of votes on last year's ballot. So just missed it. And
I think he'll get it next year. I think he gets in.
I'm just going to say, pretty good chance that we see Todd Helton in the Hall. The rest of the remaining, and I won't list off their percentages, but you can figure it out yourself. Billy Wagner, Andrew Jones, Gary Sheffield, Carlos Beltran, Alex Rodriguez, Manny Ramirez, Omar Vizquel, Andy Pettit, Bobby Abreu, Jimmy Rollins, Mark Burrell, Burley. Sorry. Wow, I'm tired. I know who that is. I promise.
Have you reached the point, Brig, where you can call yourself exhaustipated? Or you're too tired to give a crap?
I hit exhaustipated days ago. Okay.
There you go.
But I was very what is exhaustipated when you're also joyful and triumphant? It only happens at Christmas, because Christmas is joyful and triumphant, and when you have children like we do, you become exhaustipated very quickly. And this would be the other time in my life where I've genuinely had that combination going.
I'll have to noodle on that, and I'll have something for you later.
That would be great. All right, Francisco Rodriguez, that's fun to say, and Torrey Hunter are the other returning names on the list. Gary Sheffield, this is his 10th time on the ballot. That's relevant. Billy Wagner, 9th. Couple of interesting ones. Alex Rodriguez still has, 7 remaining opportunities. This is his 3rd year on the ballot. Andy Pettit this is his 6th time, etc. Okay. First timers on the Hall of Fame. First of all, Brad, who do you think on that list gonna get in no matter what? Who not gonna get in this next class?
I'm gonna say Todd Helton gets in. If Andrew Jones doesn't get in this time, he'll get in the next year. He's gonna get in eventually, I think. I think that's really it. There is somebody who's a first timer who could have an impact on a couple of those guys on this list, and we'll get there.
Yeah,
I think in just a minute.
Agreed. Yeah, I agree with everything you said. I'd love to see Andrew Jones make it. I think it's a no-brainer.
He deserves it more than just about anybody else on that list, I think.
Yeah,
like I've been tooting the Todd Helton whistle all like for years, right?
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I feel like Andrew Jones is more deserving than him even. I'm shocked he hasn't gotten in yet.
Really excited for Andrew Jones. Okay, here are the first timers. First name or first ballot guys. Okay, Adrian Beltre, Joe Mauer, Chase Utley, David Wright, Big Sexy Bartolo Colon, Matt Holliday.
Maybe he'll touch home plate on his way.
There it was. Adrian Gonzalez, Joey Bats, Jose Bautista, Jose Reyes. There's exhausted. Victor Martinez, James Shields, Brandon Phillips, Denard Span, Chase Headley. Oh, interesting. Giovanni Gallardo, Doug Fister, Brad Ziegler, Ryan Madsen, Phil Hughes, Brandon Morrow, Chris Tillman, Jim Johnson, and Santiago Casilla. Okay, Brad. Who's the name that you think is going to be disruptive?
Okay, so the disruptive guy is Bartolo Colon.
Yeah.
Fan favorite, Big Sexy, right? But he has 2 PED suspensions to his name. So based on everything we've seen in the past with Barry Bonds, Mark McGwire, Roger Clemens, so far with Alex Rodriguez and Manny Ramirez and Andy Pettitte, Bartolo Colon cannot get voted in. But he has rehabbed his image enough that I think he will. And because I think he will, you know what that means? Is that A-Rod's getting in. Manny for sure is getting in if that happens.
For sure, if that happens.
Andy Pettitte will get in. Like, we could see a really big class because there's going to be a shift in the age and the mindset of the voters, because guys are going to be like, oh, we have to let Bartolo Colon in. He played for so long and did what he did for that long. Like, he's got to get in, right? So, and I will say, if Bartolo Colon gets in, those other guys get in as well. But I will not be surprised if Bartolo Colon does not get in because of 2 PED infractions, right?
The problem is they are confirmed PED infractions.
Right.
They're not. There's nothing ambiguous about it. It's not speculative in any way. There's no rumor mill with his name on a list somewhere.
There's no tapeworm excuse to go with him. Nothing. He owned up to
no motorcycle accident, an eczema problem, or whatever. No. No. This is a legitimate. These are legitimate problems in his career.
Yep.
And a wonderful career it was. And he is a fan.
And a long one. And a really long one, too. He did it forever.
Did it forever. And so, did it with panache.
Right. Okay. Like, the world was just ecstatic for him when he finally hit that homer. And
my word.
Said, if he gets in, it's going to change the entire paradigm of the Hall of Fame. And there are going to be a bunch of guys getting in who were not in before. And when it comes to the Culture Club, you can see Barry Bonds, Mark McGwire, Roger Clemens, those guys getting in.
Sammy Sosa, with the Culture Club. For sure. The Culture Club might get those guys in anyway in a handful of years.
Yeah, very well could. Very well could end up getting those guys in.
So, and that's the real question with the Hall of Fame here. What we have to discuss, and I think this goes without saying, but let's say it anyway. For the maybe it's the new fans that need to understand the dynamic here. But because there has been such a precedent set with these PED suspensions and even speculation around them having dabbled with anything related to performance enhancers, those people that we've previously listed are not in the Hall of Fame. They have been shut out of all of the voting. There has to be one of 2 things that happen. There's only 2 ways to go. Either the mindset shifts, which Brad has talked about, and if so, it's going to hinge on one player. and Bartolo Colon could be that guy. That's what Brad is arguing. Or everyone will hold the line until some inevitable point where we go back to example 1. Or the third example, the most extreme, I think, is that in some ultra purist and ultra traditionalist sort of homage to baseball and its history, everybody just decides to give these guys and the PED thing the Pete Rose treatment. And it's like, nope, you're done. It's over. Sorry.
I feel like A-Rod got less votes this year. He got 35.7%. I can't remember what he got last year, but I feel like it was more than that. That he's gotten less votes.
50s. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So where we thought that things were softening on these guys, it seems like things are moving back towards the hard line again of no chance. I don't know if that's necessarily the case, but that's what it appears to be this year. So it's going to be interesting to watch.
Okay, so now we've set the stage, Brad. How do you feel about that?
About it going back?
Is this a regression culturally and as a sport and as a fan base? Is this the right direction to hold the line? Or what do you think, honestly?
I think it is. We've talked about this before that I don't think that guys who did steroids deserve to be sitting next to guys who don't. I understand that there were a lot of guys who did it back in the day, and I know that there are some guys who snuck in from what I've heard.
That's
right?
That
rumor. It wasn't widely known that they used steroids, but they did,
There's one name in particular that really ruffles my feathers when we talk about this with that specific detail.
Yeah, me too. But no, I don't think that they belong in there. And I think going backwards, I don't want to say going backwards, but going back and holding the line on this and being like, no, they don't deserve to be in because they cheated. They cheated everybody else. They cheated the game. They cheated their opponents. They cheated their team. And they weren't a team player because they're obviously putting themselves before, because it was like if they got caught, then the rest of the team is without one of their best players.
Right. Top contributing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you. And I think that you make a really good argument often, and I've heard this from other people, but you've articulated it really well when you say that it's as much a museum and a historical record of baseball is the Hall of Fame as much as it is anything else. But the museum itself is not its express purpose. Right? It's not all the way in. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say along those lines, though, is that these guys are still there. It's not like they've been it's not like the 2003 Yankees won the World Series. Here's your roster. Oh, A-Rod's missing from that list, right? It's not like that.
No.
Right? A-Rod's in the Hall of Fame. Manny Ramirez. Yeah, Manny Ramirez is in the Hall of Fame, but they don't have plaques. And the fact that they're there and you can see them, but then I take my son to Cooperstown in 5 years, whenever we get there, and he's like, well, why doesn't this guy have a plaque? Let me tell you why this guy doesn't have a plaque.
Mm-hmm.
You still talk about it. You talk about the merits of cheating and everything like that. And I feel like that presents a really valuable lesson for kids growing up playing the game. That they can learn from their mistakes. They're still there. They're still recognized for their accomplishment of winning a World Series or setting some milestone, whatever. If A-Rod had hit 80 home runs, Barry Bonds has hit, I lose track all the time, 76, 77 home runs. It's still recognized in the Hall of Fame, but he doesn't have a plaque because he was connected to steroid use, despite everything he said about it.
Right. Baseball family, we want to know what you think, and maybe let's put this up on Versus Game and let's really get a hard-hitting poll going. I think that would be really interesting on Versus Game, but we'll tell you about a little bit more about Versus Game in a minute. Let's move on. What happened between the Cubs and the Cards on Thursday? The first answer to that question, right off the top of my head, is it's rivalry game. And why we're surprised is also part of the story.
This is my thing with this rivalry game, though, is it's not like it's a Saturday in November and it's college football, right?
Yeah.
these teams play each other so much throughout the year that, like, I understand that it gets a little bit more bitter as the season goes, and these teams have both been, I mean, I don't know about the Cubs, but the Cards have certainly been underachieving this year, so there's got to be a lot of frustration coming out of that dugout. But man, like, I was just like, just freaking play the game, man. Like,
see, and I'm the opposite.
Okay, let's get into that in just a minute. Let's for those of you who don't know what happened, Ian Happ for the Cubs accidentally hit Wilson Contreras on his backswing, hit him in the head with his bat on his backswing. Wilson Contreras, former Cub, friends with Ian Happ, actually, personal friends with him, so this is not something he would have done on purpose. Absolutely not, despite him playing for a rivalry team, because these guys are more mature than that most of the time. Contreras left the game bloodied. His head was bleeding because of the bat and everything. And then Miles Michaelos, the pitcher for the Cards, for very next pitch when they got, I think Andrew Kisner got out there to catch. The very next pitch, he buzzed the tower, brushed Happ back, and then he just kind of tossed a meatball and hit him in the butt. And then the umpires came together. Happ took his base. And after the umpires came together, they said that was intentional. They ran him. Eventually, Ali Marmol came out and argued he was also ejected. Oh. And as a result, a direct result of that ejection for intentionally throwing out a batter, Michaelos was suspended for 5 games. Misses 1 start, right? Mm-hmm. And Marmol was suspended for 1 game. Cubs went on to win that game 10-3. Cards had to dip into their bullpen early and often in that game, which caused some problems, I think, for the rest of the weekend. Brig, I want to know who you think, who was wrong. Was anybody wrong? Was somebody wrong here? Should the umpires have warned Michaelos? Like,
I think the umpires.
I'd like to know more.
There should always be a warning. I think that the immediate ejection thing, they get a little trigger happy on that. That's my opinion. Give a guy a second chance, or let him back it off a little bit. Let's play the game. Let's be big kids, But at the same time, he did. If you want to view the first pitch as buzzing the tower intentionally,
that was intentional. It was very clearly intentional.
That's what I'm saying. Like, if you're going to interpret it that way, and I don't know how you couldn't, but if you're going to interpret it that way, that's when the warning should have come. And then he beans him the next time. After the warning, run him out of there. That's okay. And everybody would be totally okay with it. There would be literally no argument whatsoever. It's the same when CC Sabathia did it. They're like, sorry, man. He's like, I'm going to throw at this guy. I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm going to lose my bonus and everything. I'm just going to throw at this guy because that's what you do. And it's part of the unwritten rules thing. And if you're going to play that way, then there's going to be consequences. But the umpires have to be involved at that nuance level. And a warning, I think, is required. They don't do it as often as they should. So anyway, that's part 1 of my opinion. Part 2 of my opinion is I think that occasionally it's very immature when the bench is clear and the brawl gets started. I think not
more
always,
than occasionally, though. I feel like.
Yeah, but not every time is it totally immature or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
In this case, probably uncalled for, etc. However, I think that Ollie Marmol has been such a problem in St. Louis that those guys are just hopping and popping. And if there's even one excuse to let out some aggression and it doesn't have to be infighting, they're going to take advantage of it. And in this situation, that's why I support the brawl. Because maybe after the brawl and with one game where that dude's not in charge for a couple of hours, then things start to turn around. I would like to see a shift in St. Louis in the positive direction. And if those two things help, then that's great. If it's against the Cubs and it's because of a rivalry and then we can all just write it off as a rivalry, that's even better. It doesn't matter. If it was a run-of-the-mill July game against an opponent that didn't have all that energy and emotion behind it with the fan bases, then I would be like, what are you fighting the Pirates for, man? This is stupid. But because it was Cubs Cards, you get a pass from me, and it becomes more exciting, and it adds to the storyline. The end.
You might be onto something there, Brig. Oh no, they lost 3-2 on Friday. I was like, maybe they did win without Marmol, but they didn't.
Oh, dang,
I don't
they
know.
needed
I don't know
that.
if it was the next day that he was suspended or if it was maybe Saturday. They didn't win Saturday either, so
Oh no.
I don't think they got swept. Did they? No, they won on Sunday. Okay, maybe it was Sunday that he wasn't there, and that's when they won. But this is my thing about this whole thing, is that like you're right. The umpires all the time are like, we have to have a feel of the game, but so often they don't. They don't have their pulse on what's going on, and they just are so oblivious to everything that's happening. Right? Like they'll talk about it before the game, like, "Hey, this was going on last time these two teams met," but like in the moment, though, they're so just like they're not focusing on what's happening and maybe it was because everybody besides apparently Miles Michaelos thought that was an unintentional act that happened to hit Wilson Contreras, right?
Yeah,
That
right.
apparently Michaelos took a lot of offense to that, and that's why he threw at him. And the umpire's like, "Oh, that one just got away from him. There's no way he'd throw at this guy for an accident." Well, apparently he did, because then the very next pitch hit him, and they don't have to issue a warning. Like you don't have to issue a warning to toss a guy out, but I think that if they had issued that warning, then you're right. It wouldn't be an issue. We wouldn't even be talking about it today. But because the umpires mismanaged the situation after the first wild pitch or the first pitch came at his head, that's why we're talking about it. That's why Michaelos got suspended, and he was so pissed off about it. And that's why Marmol came out and argued and got tossed.
Exactly.
So yeah, I think you're right. My initial thought was Michaelos is wrong, but I think you're right. The umpires are wrong for mismanaging the situation.
Yeah, that's what I think. Well, and Michaelos has been in the big leagues for like 8 or so years, and he's almost reached his tenure point. So like the dude knows what's going on. It's not like he's unaware. I was wondering, I was like, for a moment there, I was like, is this a young guy who hasn't figured it out? No, it's not.
He's been around.
I wonder if there's going on.
I wonder if Waino kind of gave him the signal from the dugout, like,
yeah. Yeah.
Like you gotta hit. Like why though? Why?
I don't know. Something happened.
It's odd. It's just the whole thing is just so odd to me, and I don't understand hitting a guy for unintentionally hitting somebody with the bat.
No, that I don't understand either.
Yeah, that's the thing that bugs me about the whole thing is like he shouldn't have even thrown at him because it's not like he like bashed his head in on purpose. But anyway, let's move on.
Your weekly Shohei Ohtani greatness checkup is here. Okay, he's now
doing something else that's never been done before.
Yeah, he's now the first player ever to throw a shutout in the first game of a doubleheader, and then homer in the second game because super duh. because of course he did. So in the one, he tossed a one-hitter in a 6-0 win in game one. It wasn't just a shutout; it was a one-hitter.
Shutout. It was a gem. I was watching that game, and when they finally got the hit, I think it was like the 6th inning. The Tigers finally got a hit. I was like, "Well, shoot, there goes that." And I thought they were just going to finally string some together. But then I kept watching, and it's like, no, he got out of that. Then he never gave up anything ever again. Just like crazy, man.
And then he went 2 for 3 with a homer in the next second game of the doubleheader. And then he was lifted for a pinch hitter because it was a blowout and nobody cared after that point. But he is once again the first player to do a thing ever in the history of all time. So very cool Shohei Ohtani checkup. Really excited. Did you talk about it last time that I think you did. He is not on the block.
Yeah, I talked about that Thursday night on the live that he is no longer on the block. The Angels are going for it. We'll talk about that a little bit more later because it's really interesting what they're doing.
Yeah, it really is. So. Okay, let's talk about weekend sweeps. The Royals swept the Twins. What? Okay, right. That makes no sense. I did not. That reaction was genuine. I did not know that.
I had to triple check it. I triple checked that, Brig, to make sure that was accurate. And it is 100% accurate. The Royals swept the Twins this weekend.
Oh, no. Okay. every
The
once
AL
in a while,
Central
the
is a mess.
it's a mess. Every once in a while, I'll look at the Central, and specifically at the Twins, and I'll be like, and sometimes the Cleveland's baseball team, but I'll be like, all right, Minnesota, like, all right, they're pretty good. They're not bad or whatever, but they're like fighting hard for 500 still. And then they get canned by the Royals. And then I look at the Yankees, who are in last place right now, and they are mountains above 500 still, and it makes no sense.
Oh, Brig, not mountains anymore. Have you checked their record recently?
I did.
They're only
2
4
days
games
ago.
over 500 now.
Oh no!
After losing tonight,
Okay.
it's creeping up on them.
Stop it, Brad. Okay, the Braves swept the Brew Crew. I'm not 100% surprised by this one, but a full sweep is also worth celebrating, specifically against a team as good as the Brew Crew and given the playoff situation that's happening.
Right, that's my thing. Is I expected the Braves to win this series, but a sweep is what.
Yeah.
I don't want to say shocked, but it surprised me.
Well,
I was surprised they were able to get all of them.
One game, got it, but
right,
yeah,
especially that last one. You're fighting to not get swept. It happens a lot, but in this case, they weren't able to get it.
Listen, I tell people all the time, the Braves are the best team in baseball.
Right,
it's not even a question. It's just not. They're just incredible right now, and it's fabulous being a bandwagon fan. So I just love it. I love that right now.
Well, it's nice being local, so you have an excuse to.
Exactly. I'd be like, oh, I don't know. I get to go to games and stuff.
Right. It's like I tell people all the time. So you Diamondbacks fan? Only by way of being local.
Yeah.
And they're like, we're pretty good this year. So
yeah, and you're
advantage of that.
I know. I pay attention professionally. Okay, the last sweep over the weekend was the Padres over the Rangers. This one I was aware of, and this one I did have to take a nap after, and this one did make me cry, and I so am confused. That's all I have to say. It's like
the West got a whole lot tighter this weekend.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, the AL West did because of that, and I am very excited. So, yeah, I'm curious.
Brad, why don't you hit us with a fantasy update and make my feelings feel bad for a minute, and then
okay,
I'll get right over it.
All right. Let's start at the bottom like we always do. Not another fantasy team. That is Jason, host of the Philly Baseball Together podcast, against Denise, Grace Under Fire, host of the North Chicago Baseball Together podcast. Denise won this one 512 to 447. Her top scorer was none other than Cubs sensation Cody Bellinger with 76 points. Jason's top scorer was Josh Naylor with 75 points. And then we have Burns Turner Overdrive. That's Tori. He's a co-host of the Philly Baseball Together podcast, going up against John Harrisburg Charlie's. Tori won this one 439 to 358. His top scorer was Christian Walker, who had a pretty good weekend. Still a little bit down compared to what he usually has, but he scored 62 points. And John's top scorer was Jose Ramirez. Brig, your team, Brigger Mortis, went up against Devastation Incorporated. That's Mike. He's our listener participant. Brig, we're going to give you a pass because you're on vacation. You lost this one 507 to 347. You were the low scorer this week.
Well, yeah.
But your high scorer was Ty France, who had an okay weekend. I saw a couple of those games. That's still getting my voice back from that, in fact. But Mike's top scorer was Matt Olson with 80 points.
Dude, Matt Olson. Okay.
That dude is killing the ball this year. If he doesn't, the only reason he's not going to win MVP this year is because his teammate Robert Acuna is going to win it. Ronald Acuna. Why do I say Robert? Anyway, Ronald Acuna is going to win. Maybe I'm getting tired too. Anyway,
exhausted.
Yes. So I went up against Jewel. He is Big League Chupacabras. He is my co-host for the Seattle Baseball Together podcast, and I changed my team name because I lost 3 in a row. My team name is no longer Julio Think You Are. My team name is now the Yonkers Batsman.
Yes.
And I lost 588 to 430. My top performer was Pete Alonso with 81 points, and Jules was Paul Goldschmidt with 72 points. So Jewel improves to 13-3. I'm 5-11. Mike is 13-3. Brig, you're 5-11 as well. John is 1-15. Tori is 7-9. Jason is 9-7, and Denise is 11-5. There's a perfect distribution of records across this league right now.
I don't think it's perfect.
Well, I don't either, but the numbers are perfect.
The numbers work out real nice.
Yeah, crazy.
All right, baseball family, before we take a quick break, we want to make sure that you are tracking one of the best ways to interact with us as a member of the Baseball Together family. We are now partnered with Versus Games. Every time we get on the show, we ask you, what do you think about something, how you feel about something, and now you can go on and interact with us, and you get a chance to make money if you would like to do that. So, we're posting polls and trivia questions and things like that. And if you're on the winning side of a poll or a trivia question, you can make real dollar bills. So play for free, or you can buy ticket bundles and play against other listeners and Versus Game users.
You win more money doing that way.
Yeah, you do. You do. So head over to btpod.onversus.com on your mobile browser and sign up to play polls and trivia games. That's btpod.onversus.com. Sign up and play Versus Games with us.
Welcome back, baseball family. So with the trade deadline today, the day this episode comes out, we wanted to get through as much as we could about with buyers, sellers, and obviously recap some of the moves and kind of do a little bit of analysis, if you will, as to what's going on, who's going where, and whether we think it's a good fit or not. But before we do that, let's take a quick look at the wild card standings of the division races as well. Your American League division leaders, you've got the Orioles are up in the division by several. Why don't they show this on here? That's weird. There we go. They're up on the Rays by a game and a half. Amazing. And then you've got the Twins up on the Guardians, up on Cleveland's baseball team by half a game. This is all going into Monday. And then the Rangers and the Rangers are up on the Astros by a game. And then in the National League, your divisions, you've got the Braves up on the Marlins by almost a dozen.
It's 11.5 games right now.
Yep.
Just unreal.
And then the Reds are on top of the NL Central right now by half a game. I think that was I think that's actually current. I think that's updated already. And then the Dodgers are up on the Giants by 2 games as well. So those are your division leaders, and by how much. Let's go look at the wild card. The 3 holding wild card spots in the American League right now. You've got the Rays, who are up 4 games. And then you've got the Astros and the Blue Jays are tied for the second and third spot. And then after that, filling in 4.5 games, you've got the Red Sox, Yankees, Angels, and Mariners. And then you've got Cleveland, but honestly, I think if they're going to make the playoffs, they're going to have to win their division. I don't think they're going to be able to make up those 6 games in the wild card because it's going to get really, really close. The Mariners are going to have a hard enough time as it is with 4.5 games. I don't think Cleveland can make up 6. And then over in the National League, you've got San Francisco is up 1 game. Then you've got the Marlins and the Brewers, who are tied for the second and third spots. And then going back, I'm going to go ahead and include San Diego in this list, Brig, just because they're playing well right now. We've been waiting for them to click all season long, and I'm wondering if it's happened. If something happened over the weekend playing the Rangers, and this is the team we're going to see. I don't know. I'm not saying we are, but I'm wondering if that's what's going to happen. So between those 5 games, you've got the Phillies, the Diamondbacks, the Cubs, and the Padres bringing up the rear at 5 games. And then you've got the Mets at 6.5. I don't think they've gotten rid of enough guys in the last few days that I think they're selling. They're just going to continue to sink from here on out.
Yeah, I agree. So, you know what's really interesting is that Oakland is 29 games back in the wild card. That's
crazy.
It's
a lot.
Kansas City's 27 games back. And then you get to a manageable 16 games back in the wild card in Chicago, right? Mm-hmm. If you look over at the National League, Colorado's at the bottom, and they're 15 games back. And then you move up to Washington, 12 games. St. Louis is only 10 games out of the wild card race. So the division of wins and losses between the American and National Leagues, just as evidenced by what the Braves are doing and then the rest of the league, it's just fascinating to me that the lowest performing team in the American League is 29 games out of the wild card race. And the lowest performing team in the National League, did I say the American League? I meant the American League. If I did,
you're right.
I don't know. And then Colorado, lowest performers in the National League, 15 games back of the wild card. I think, to me, that's fascinating. It's double between the two leagues at the lower end of the
Well, and the Blue Jays and Astros are only 2 games better than the Marlins and the Brewers. Is all
right. Isn't that so interesting?
Yeah. Yep. It really is.
I mean,
and I think we're going to be in
statistical analyzer or anything, but
it's crazy. It's so crazy. Okay, let's get into some of these deals that we saw over the weekend. First, like the big one, the first big one we saw, and then the dominoes started to fall. David Robertson went to the Marlins from the Mets. And then Max Scherzer started questioning his faith after this. Says, I'm going to have to start talking to, like, I saw this while I was at the Diamondbacks game, the Mariners and Diamondbacks game Friday night. It was on TV several times, by the way. It was pretty neat to see myself. I went back and watched the game, and I found myself a few times. But anyway.
Nice.
But so I was looking at this while I was at the game, and he's like, I'm going to have to talk to the front office. And first I was like, I don't think that means what you think it means. But it did, because 24 hours later, he was gone. He went to the Rangers.
He went to the Rangers,
and
which I did predict a while ago, by the way.
You did. It's like they say, the stars can tell the future. They're just not very specific about their timing. Harry Potter, for anybody who knows.
I love that.
But the timing for the Rangers was perfect, though, because they had to put Nathan Eovaldi on the 15-day IL, I believe, with a forearm strain.
Which is why my fantasy team is suffering. Thank you. Okay, go ahead.
There you go. So that's another big trade from the Mets. The Mets clearly have learned that you cannot buy a World Series anymore. That's not how baseball works anymore. It's not the 90s.
Sorry, Steve.
Yep, that's right. It's crazy. The Mets, the Padres, the Yankees, and who am I missing? I know the Rangers are in top 5 payroll, but they've been a lot more strategic about it than I think these other teams have. I can't think of who the other team, the 4th team in the top. Oh, the Phillies. The Phillies. Those 4 teams, the Phillies, the Mets, the Yankees, and the Padres all are top 5 in payroll, and they're all out of the playoff picture right now.
Yeah.
So
fascinating.
It really is. It is. So more trades. The Dodgers got Lance Lynn and Joe Kelly from the White Sox. The White Sox got Trace Thompson, Nick Nastrini, and Jordan Leaser. They're just like, take them. Just take them. We don't want to get nothing from them, so just take them, right?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Garage sale them. The Astros got back. Yeah, Joe Kelly's back in LA, which is where I feel like he belongs.
He's a great fit there. I love him there. Yeah.
Houston Astros got Kendall Graveman back from the White Sox for catcher Corey Lee. We talked about Max Scherzer. And then today, what's today? Today's the 31st. So yesterday, Sunday, there was just a flurry of activity.
Oh, man.
Jordan Hicks went from the Cardinals to the Blue Jays. And then we had Jordan Montgomery and Chris Stratton go to the Rangers. The Rangers just like, we need pitching. So they went and got a bunch of pitching. So we'll see. But they did well with it, though. The Braves got an infielder, Nicky Lopez from the Royals, a minor move. And I feel like the Braves didn't really need to make moves. I think they were just kind of shoring up some depth, right?
Totally.
It's kind of like, let's just be prepared. We talked about the Lucas Giolito deal with the Angels and the White Sox. Well, the Angels did some more wheeling and dealing. They got C.J. Cron and Randall Grichuk from the Rockies.
Great.
I don't know how this is going to work out.
Moves.
This is a good move. I feel like C.J. Cron played for the Angels before. It didn't go great, right? Like, I don't know if he's benefiting from the Rockies for being in Colorado or if he has improved that much as a player, right?
I don't know either, but we are about to find out all the way.
We are. He did drive in a run tonight, so there's that. Grichuk homered tonight as well. It's interesting, though, to see with the Angels is that I was talking about this with Jewel over the weekend, that like all it's going to take for them to get Ohtani to come back, I feel like, is making the playoffs. They don't even have to win a game. They could lose the wild card round. They could get blown out in 2 games in the wild card round. But if they get there, he's going back.
I disagree.
You disagree? Why is that?
I think there needs to be a deeper push into the playoffs for him. I don't think he's happy there. I think he's good enough. I think he likes being the big fish in the small pond. Who doesn't like that?
Right.
But I don't think that – I think he has his sights set really high. And even if the Angels do make a push into the playoffs, and it's if it's a shallow push into the playoffs, he'll see it for what it is and realize that this might have been a one-off just to try to keep me around. This isn't cultural shift that the team really does need.
And see, I think that he could see it as, if they try, we'll get there. If they really make a real concerted effort, we'll get there. And me coming back and saying, I want to get to the playoffs. And maybe he won't sign a long-term deal. Maybe it'll be a few years of the player option at some point, right? But I don't think it'll take much, because he can be like, you have the capability of building a playoff team. Let's do it every year because we can. Right?
Yeah, he's not wrong.
Because he's playing like a man possessed and leading and carrying this team with no Mike Trout, no Anthony Rendon, no Zach Neto, right?
Oh,
like this is Ohtani's team.
Is heartbreaking,
right? Yeah, so it's Ohtani carrying them and keeping them as contenders right now.
Yeah, it's true. That's why I like the Crone and Grichuk move. Grichuk is great. I mean, especially with the issues they've had in their outfield over in Anaheim, this is a great move, especially Grichuk.
Yeah, I saw that. I was like, shoot.
Yeah, and if you think about it, with what's their utility guy that played for the Yankees for a long time? Gio Urshela. He broke his hip, and they need depth and some platooning capabilities.
I saw today that they have the Angels have more of their 40-man roster, more money dedicated to their 40-man roster on the injury side than they do on the playing side, on the active side. That they don't have any more room on their 40-man roster that they bring anybody else in or up. They're going to have to remove somebody from the 40-man roster because they are chock full with injuries.
Jeez.
Just terrible luck this year as far as that goes.
Yeah, but they're still hanging in there.
They're still in it.
Nuts.
Right. Yeah.
It's nuts.
It is nuts. Yep. Okay, today's deals, Monday's deals. Aaron Savali, the Rays got Aaron Savali from Cleveland for a pack of ramen noodles. The Mariners dealt Paul Sewald to the Diamondbacks, which is crazy because I was driving to the game on Friday, and one of the local guys on the radio, he's like, don't be. He's like, I think that the Mariners, I think the Diamondbacks are going to go after Paul Sewald specifically. I'm getting tired too, Brig. But he's like, I think the Diamondbacks are going to go after Paul Sewald specifically. I was like, dude, you're crazy. There's no way. The Mariners aren't going to deal Sewald to the Diamondbacks. Turns out he's not crazy.
Well, and the crazy thing about this is that the D-backs gave up Dominic Canzone.
Who had a great weekend, by the way.
And Ryan Bliss. And I watched Canzone's first handful of games. I watched him get his first hit, stolen base, home run, the whole shebang in the last, couple weeks or whatever. The dude is legit.
He
has so much fun, and he is a speed demon. And I was like, oh, here we go, Arizona. They've got Carroll. They look at Canzone coming up. And then I'm like, I'm all about Arizona making a push. I think it's fantastic. But I don't know why you got rid of Canzone. Make no sense.
Yeah, so there were, when you're at a game and you're just watching your team, there are a few guys who come up and you go, oh, okay, let's see if we can get this guy out or at least minimize the damage. Nobody's on, hold him to a single, right? Canzone was one of those guys this weekend. It was Corbin Carroll, it was Ketel Marte, it was Lourdes Gurriel Jr., and it was Dominic Canzone because I saw him hit I think he ripped a double into the gap, and it was a smoke show, right? And I was like, and after that, I was like, watch out for this guy. And the fact that they traded for him today is like, that's a bat the Mariners need today, absolutely today.
And they will employ him today, and he will add so much depth to the next handful of years for you guys. It's going to be a big deal. This is going to be a big deal.
Might have the answer at DH because he DH'd for the Diamondbacks Friday and Saturday, and the Mariners didn't really have a good answer at DH this year, and he could be it. So I'm looking forward to that. Or one thing that's interesting too is that he could be potentially replacing Teoscar Hernandez in right field, because there are several teams interested in him right now. So he could be on the move in the next 12 hours.
Dude,
based
that
on
would
our
be
current time.
Fantastic for Seattle.
It would be, because I saw that there were 3 teams: the Blue Jays, the Giants, and somebody else. I can't remember off the top of my head, but 3 teams were interested in Hernandez. So I was like, you get a bidding war, you can get back a pretty good haul for a guy like Hernandez, especially the expiring contract.
And you've already have a backfill option with somebody who is producing now.
Yep.
And with lots of club control. Yeah, that's great.
Oh, big time. Lots and lots of club control. So I thought that was a great deal sending Seawald. It's a bummer. I like Seawald a lot, but
he's terrific.
The Mariners really came out on top in that deal, I felt like.
They did.
So another deal today, the Brewers got Mark Canha from the Mets. The Cubs. So did you see that Jeimer, is it Jeimer? I think it's Jeimer. Candelario he wasn't in the lineup today.
What did I tell
he's sitting in the clubhouse eating. Yeah, he's in the clubhouse eating popcorn, waiting for a deal to get done. Yeah. And so he is a Cub, and you were right.
What did I tell you?
Yeah,
I knew I knew he was going to get moved. I knew it.
Yep.
And I'm sad that they did, because here we go, further evidence that Washington is still in dump it off mode, and I don't like that. But,
right. Yeah, it's crazy that they have a guy this good, and they're not like, let's build around him. Instead, they're just like, let's steal him because we can, because it's that time of year.
So sad.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And then AJ Pollock and utility man Mark Mathias went from the Mariners to the Giants for a player to be named later, or cash, or ramen noodles. I don't know, probably just ramen noodles. And then
Pogs. There'll be a set of Pogs in the
Pogs.
Sleeve.
You're more. Yeah, you're right. A sleeve of Pogs
with one slammer, maybe.
Maybe a slammer. The Reds got left-handed pitcher Sam Moll in international cap space from the Mariners for Joe Boyle. That's not the deal I wanted to see the Mariners make with the Reds. No. I wanted to see Jonathan India come over and be a Mariner.
You did.
The Cubs got Jose Cuas from the Royals, and the D-backs got Jace Peterson for Chad Padrick from the A's. So those are deals up to this moment. It is currently 9:30 Pacific time. That's what we've seen. So, Brig, based on what we've seen, we've got buyers and sellers. What's your favorite deal so far? We talked a lot about that deal for the Mariners. I don't think that's necessarily going to put the Mariners over the top this year, but it puts them in a good spot for next year, which is what Jerry DiPoto said that he's going to try to do. Obviously, the Mets are selling, right? Big time.
No,
selling.
They're not selling. They're dumping, and players are jumping ship. And by the way,
Justin Verlander too now has questioned his faith, right?
Of course he has. And when he moved, I was like, no, don't do it. This is no. Are you kidding me? And why not go back to Detroit? If you're going to go anywhere, go back to Detroit. I was so mad for him. And look, I told you. I'm doing the I told you so dance.
Yep.
Anyway, let me just go ahead and mention that David Robertson is a national treasure. So if you're not tracking that information yet, you ought to be. And I've been saying that for almost 5 years because it's a fact. That dude has seen it all. He's done almost everything. He is an incredible rock of a human being in a clubhouse. He's a terrific relief pitcher. He is a capable teammate, leader, etc. Anybody who wants a contending arm or an arm as a contending bullpen guy wants David Robertson.
That's what the Marlins need. Big time.
I know.
Big time.
I know. So Anyway, dude's a national treasure.
Yeah,
I love
that
that
move
deal
from the
for
Marlins.
Miami because I want to see what happens. The only thing that would have been better is if Robertson had ended up in Texas. So if he'd have
I'm
ended up
so
in
glad that
Texas,
didn't happen.
I know. Just spin on this for a minute. Robertson gets traded to Texas for whatever, doesn't matter what. Same ripple effect through the clubhouse. Scherzer goes and follows him. Oh, dude.
I don't. This is the thing though. Like you say, ripple effect. I don't think Scherzer goes to Texas though. If that happens, I don't think the Rangers have the trade pieces to get Scherzer at that point. I think maybe Scherzer ends up going to Miami, but I don't know if he would waive his no trade clause for that.
I don't think Scherzer's going to go where he's wanted and where he's possible. It's possible to really go deep into the playoffs, and he made the right choice. Going to Texas was 100% the place for him to be.
Yep,
which I called. Absolutely. So I also told you so. That's fabulous.
You did, yeah.
Feeling super
that might be your best call of the year.
Might be
because I didn't see it coming. I thought they had one more year for sure, at the very least, because I was really worried about their pitching, which obviously has been an issue. But they got a great GM down there, Chris Young. He knows what he's doing for sure.
He knows what he's doing. He is working it hard.
Yeah, but baseball family, let us know what you think about some of these deals, what we've seen at the trade deadline, and what we will see at the deadline as well.
Yeah, 12 hours.
I was certain we were going to see Juan Soto moved, but I think with the sweep this weekend, I think the Padres have got some fire in their bellies, and they're gonna try to go for it. They're gonna try to make a run. I don't think you're gonna sell anybody.
They're gonna burn out though. It's not gonna work.
Oh, most likely, yeah. But
it's not gonna work.
I don't think they're gonna trade anybody away by the deadline. So. But hop in the mailbag, let us know what you think, or in the comments on YouTube. While you're on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss a thing. You can give the show a ton of support, more than you know. And another way you can support the show as well is you can hop on patreon.com. There's a link down in the description of everything we do on YouTube and audio. You can go to Patreon. You can check out our 5 tiers of support: $1, $5, $10, $15, and a whopping $500 of support every month. Everything comes with its own perks and prizes and swag. Everybody gets a sticker, and everybody gets the bullpen cut. The bullpen cut is the unedited version. There was some conversation between segments today that you're probably going to want to hear, because Brig is exhausted, and I'm headed that direction myself. So
baseball family, don't forget to jump on ChinookSeedery.com. Use code BTPod for 10% off what are literally the best seeds ever in the history of my mouth. I've never had a better tasting sunflower seed. I've never had a better experience ever. And I was a fanboy disciple of a different brand and a different flavor exclusively for a really long time. And I kid you not, the Chinook seeds, they really are the best. They're the best. We did a giveaway during the Home Run Derby. We did a couple of giveaways, actually. And they've gone over really well. People are very excited to get them. We're going to do another giveaway soon. I just decided that for us, Brad. So we're going to do another giveaway soon. It's going to be fabulous. And we'll figure out what that means or why. But ChinookSeedery.com, code BTPod for 10% off. And then we also have an affiliate with SeedSack, where you can go in and support the podcast as well. The perfect, the sample size, the little pocket size package of Chinook seeds. You tear that open, you dump the whole thing into a seed sack, and they are a 1-for-1 size swap. They fit perfectly with one another. So toss that in your back pocket or in your gym bag or whatever in the center console of your vehicle. And don't fall asleep at the wheel, because you got the seeds in your mouth. That's how I do it.
That's how I do it too. I do that so I don't fall asleep at the wheel while I'm working at my desk as well. But
bingo.
But baseball family, thank you so much for joining us. We will catch you Thursday night.